Welcome to the World Builders Anvil, episode 279. Auntie Tia, the Ant Overlord.
What? No. We're not doing that this week.
What? Oh, you're right. It's
me.
No.
It's all about
the
me.
ant. It is the aunt.
Me.
Ant
It's
zombie
all
overlord.
about me, Jeff. It's all about me.
It's all about you?
It's my 200th anniversary episode. I've had 200 anniversaries. It's my 200th episode.
It's only been 200?
I know. It seems like so many more, doesn't it?
No, it's not.
I thought we could do some debating.
All right. I hope you brought your B game.
Because you want to win.
That's right. Don't know where to start building your fantasy world?
Do you need more? Does it make sense?
Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination.
This is the place where we will prime your mind.
Now, it's time to heat up the forge.
Break out the mithril ingots and hammer.
Welcome to the World Builders Anvil. I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
Let's sup from the muck of Java and build. Welcome back. As always, the debater in general, Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And you're a master debater. I am Michael Miller.
You are the master debater.
You kind of teed me up for that one, and I appreciate it. So welcome to my 200th episode. If you want to get nitpicky, it's probably more like 196. But
no, it's 200. I'm not.
But yeah, I mean, we're not going to get. Yeah, I started on episode 79.
Yep.
So now
it was, for those of you who've not heard it, you should go back and check it out. It's actually, for both of us, I think one of our favorite episodes.
It's still a fun episode.
The Ant Zombie Overlords. I believe what was the actual name of it. We built Ant Zombie Overlords. I know that, but I believe that was also the name.
Well, I think didn't you already have sort of. You already had something like that in your world, but we kind of fleshed it out further, I think.
Yeah, it's something I had used. And I just want to bring it up as an example because I think too often when people think of monsters, they like to think of big, scary, like overtly scary types of stuff.
Beholders and Tarrasques and dragons.
Yeah. And so I think there's a truth that sometimes horror itself can be derived from things that are innocuous in a way. It makes it worse because the thing is, I mean, how many people right now have an ant going through their home? Really, everyone does.
Probably
except for me. My house is perfectly protected from all sorts of bugs.
All sorts of infestation protection.
Now my yard is covered in mosquitoes, but
that's no good.
And it's funny too because my trap is going and it's trapping like dozens an hour, and it's like it's so bad at the beginning of this year. It's ridiculous. So it'll take a few weeks for it to clean it back out.
Your trap? What? Like
I have one of those propane traps in my backyard.
Oh.
So it uses bait and this creates some heat from propane, helps distribute the smell, which smells like human, I guess, to mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes are attracted to it. They get sucked in by a fan into a netted cage.
Gotcha.
For which their lives will end.
Huzzah. End all the lives of mosquitoes. They serve no real purpose.
Yeah.
I guess
if you're a scientist and have any proof to the contrary, don't call. We don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I really don't. I hate mosquitoes. So my original intention for this episode, like we went back and forth trying to figure out what we wanted to do for this episode. And to be honest, I almost talked to Jeff into trolling you guys. Part of my plan was to do an episode that was a complete trolling, like kind of like what was the original episode, but just like a joke version of it. But I was like, I don't know. I don't think we can, make that interesting enough and justifiable. And I really don't want to troll you guys.
And it becomes like the South Park episode where everyone's supposed to learn who Carmen's father was finally. And they did a Terrence and Phillips prank episode. And people watched the entire episode and the internet hate was massive.
And it's funny because when you watch their DVDs for like every single episode, they're like, this is our very favorite episode. And then, they intro the episode. They say that for everyone. And for that episode, they're like, like for real, this one really is our favorite. We know we say that for every single episode, but it's kind of a joke. But this one really is because, we were supposed to do exactly what you just, prefaced. And then we didn't, and everyone just hated us for it. And we thought it was so funny.
Living trolls. Okay.
Yes.
At least have the courage to be that way in real life.
Right. But I didn't want to do that to the audience, and I still wanted to bring maybe something useful. But I'm thinking about what we're about to do, and it might be even less useful. I don't know.
It might be even less useful, but we'll have more fun.
Yeah, we will. We will probably have more fun. So what I wanted to do, and I do want to do this one of these episodes, we'll do this maybe a little later, is pick a specific subject. My original is, I think we'll do this on our next media episode, because the first thing that came to mind was picking our favorite movies in different genres and or different characters or plot lines or whatever, and argue the opposite point. Like you would say, okay, this is my favorite. Like say Jeff would be like, okay, my favorite movie is Excalibur, and it's the best because all of these things. And I would say, okay, for this debate, you have to tear that movie apart. So you'd have to choose what you don't believe and come up with the best counterpoints to it. And then you would do the same to me. You'd pick like a movie that I absolutely, uphold and love, and I would have to shred it.
I don't know. My taste is too good. I don't think I could actually defeat my own logic. So that'd be tough.
I have a feeling you can handle it. Anyway, but we're not going to do that today. And as always, we've had limited prep time. So I think we're going to do is try to go through. Jeff wrote up a bunch of subjects here. And I don't know that we're going to do all these. And my thought is, if we come up with any on the fly,
we'll mention them all, and you can shoot them down if you want to.
Sure. And
I'm sure there's at least one you'll shoot down.
Yeah, I'm sure there's at least 2 or 5. I think you only wrote 6.
Yes. So we might only get one out of this. So,
and we're almost definitely going to get into Game of Thrones. So as of this recording, there is 1 episode of Game of Thrones left. This is your spoiler warning.
And this is about the second to last episode.
This is the second. There's only 1 episode left. Jeff and I are both up to date, and we are probably going to get into it. So if you haven't watched Game of Thrones and you do intend to watch it, don't listen to this just yet, because we'll get into it and undoubtedly spoil some stuff. Because I got to talk more about it. I've already been talking about it, and
do you want to do that one last, just to make it easier?
I almost want to get right to it because it's like on the forefront of my mind, but I don't.
This one was actually inspired by Michael losing his schnizzle in the Fantasy Undercroft group. I'm sure probably moments after the episode finished, and why, he seemed a bit upset with it. Before we have him give a little background on why.
Wait, which one, are you referring to the which? Keep going, because I don't know if you might be referring to a different post, but keep going. Okay,
it was the one where you were lambasting, or you were kind of trolling, really, the actual. Well, we'll get to that in a second. The idea is this is about the second to last episode, and it was actually, I think, more of a joke comment where J.R.R. Martin, perhaps misled the people.
Oh no, I'm not joking. I mean, okay. I'm saying it with much humor, but how great would it be if it's true?
If it was actually a troll.
So why don't you but here's the thing.
On that comment.
I'm not saying that he did it as a troll. I'm not saying that he did it as a means to troll the audience. I'm saying if he did it, and time will tell, because if a book drops, then that I'm saying he did it he would have done it as a means. Now, maybe there'd be 2 ways. Either one, everybody involved knew, like, okay, he's going to release the last book, and he's been working on it. He's already got a ton of things going on, and he's ready to drop the last book. But the show's already taken a turn, and the writer's going to keep going that direction. He's like, all right, fine, this is what we'll do. You guys do whatever you're going to do. Take it in this direction, that direction, whatever. Don't do any of these things, because I'm going to do these things. Just do whatever you want to do. And then everyone, the viewers, is completely dissatisfied with everything that's going on. And subsequently, he's like, okay, I know you loved all those characters. Do you want to find out what was really supposed to happen? Buy my new book.
Buy my new book. Okay.
Or he totally lied to everybody and said, oh, no, this is what's going to happen. You should do this. You should do that. Have, Cersei just get dumped a bunch of rubble on her, because that's appropriate. And then he's just like, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. after seeing all the vitriol from how horrible the show ended, I decided to write the last book in the last 2 months, and my publisher is putting it out.
Yeah, I have to do a response book to this last season. Now,
right, you know what I mean? But tell me how much all of the readers who have been saying, oh, George R. Martin has abandoned the readership and whatever. But I was talking to somebody about this just the other day. They're backing dump trucks full of money up to his house, and at this point, the guy's old. Like, I have no idea I have no idea what his lifestyle was like prior to that, but I can't imagine he was swimming in popularity and fame and money like he is now.
I think he was probably very comfortable, but I don't think he was like super rich by any stretch.
But
he inherited it. Yep.
But he's got to be doing okay now. Got to be.
Oh, I would believe so. I believe
unless he has a terrible agent.
You know, like the guy who sold the Witcher rights to CD Projekt Red. But it was actually his own fault because he thought the game would be bust, so he just wanted a quick payment up front. And
oh, wait! Tell me this. I didn't know this. He didn't make any money on that sale.
He did, but essentially he didn't believe it would make any money, so he wanted like an upfront payment. Mm-hmm. It was like I don't know what the exchange rate is, but it approximately like $10,000 US, I believe, in Polish currency because they're all Polish.
That's chump change, though.
But he thought it was going to be a total bust and a waste of his time to put any effort into it, and did not want residuals because he didn't think there would be any. So he just wanted like essentially a book advance for giving CD Projekt Red rights to The Witcher. They had proceeded to make buckets of money,
bajillions. So okay, let this be the lesson, and this we should call this the George Lucas lesson, because George Lucas was smart enough to own the licensing rights and the merchandising rights. That's why he's got all the money that he does. And then, of course, selling them.
And then when he sold it, but he had built it up enough to where they had appreciably more value than he would have been paid. You're sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
I
was going to say he just had a lot more than what he would have been paid if he had sold them at the time.
You are always going to make more if you can get 1% of 100 people's efforts or 100 people's dollars than 100% of one person's dollar. What's his name? Marlon Brando, actor extraordinaire, like, absolute legend in the craft. Do you know what made him the most money?
Now, see, what I'm going to say is wrong. Because my thought would be,
what movies is he known for?
I would say Godfather, Citizen Kane.
Definitely. Apocalypse Now. Actually, I'm sorry.
Apocalypse Now, I would say.
Was Marlon Brando in Citizen?
Yes, he was. He was the
Orson Welles.
Oh, you might be right with that.
I'm definitely right with that. It's Orson Welles is in Citizen Kane.
Son of a hamster. I always mix those two up. So
well, anyway,
they look the same to me.
Apocalypse Now, of course. Streetcar Named Desire. On the Waterfront, The Godfather.
On the Waterfront, yep.
He did a little movie where he was like, okay, you can barely afford to pay me what I want to be paid to do this little movie, but I'll tell you what, I'll take the $1 million, and at the time, that was a lot of money. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but at the time, it was a lot of money, but not a lot to hire Marlon Brando. He said, I'll take the $1 million. He's like, but I also want, I don't know if it was 1% or 3% of the movie.
Like the gross?
Forever.
Yeah.
Like whenever that movie makes money, he gets
3%. Yep.
That movie made him more money than all of the stuff in his career put together. That movie was Superman.
Oh wow, I forgot he was in that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he only shot, I think he only worked for one day.
Yeah.
Like he literally just did like the hologram part as Jor-El. It was a very small part, but it was Marlon Brando. And because of so all you creators out there, get those percentages of the overall. That's what you want. Always want a piece of the overall.
Yep. Okay, so back to Game of Thrones here on question 1. Okay. And now I'm going to make an argument on why it is the best episode of the series.
You want me to make the argument?
I'll make the argument because
we could both make. You want us to, let's both do it. Let's both choose what we don't believe.
Okay, now
you want to make the argument that episode 5 of season 8 is the best episode ever, and this is the episode. And again, super spoilers. This is the episode where Cersei dies and like Jaime dies, or presumably, but we think so. The Mountain dies. The Hound dies. Who else died?
The captain of the Golden Company died.
Right, but he was so nothing. Like they didn't do anything with him.
What's his name died? Like, the waste of a character. Yerlin Greyjoy.
Oh yeah. Urine. Is there an L in there?
Urine Greyjoy.
I think it's urine.
Urine. Yeah.
Urine. I think it's urine. My brain didn't even pick up on how you were saying that. I'm pretty sure it's urine. I could be wrong. It might be urine. I mean, he is a pirate.
Yeah. Plus, pretty much everyone who lived in the city of King's Landing.
Right, most of it. One of my buddies sent me this. There's so many great memes. I mean, Reddit's on fire with this right now, and it's Lego King's Landing, and all it is a pile of gray and brown bricks.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so my argument for here is one. I think the biggest reason a lot of people are actually annoyed with the episode is because they think Dany lost her mind and just basically sitting up there or the thing just waylays the entire essentially town of King's Landing or city of King's Landing and its 1 million inhabitants. I would argue that this is in no way a last minute change in direction for the show. It's been heading there for seasons. There have been at least 2 scenes where people have had visions of King's Landing destroyed. One with Dany and one with Bran. Basically in the throne room with snow happening, which I think at the time most people just thought it was about Jon Snow instead of the ash of corpses that rained down on Arya. I would say the Cersei Jaime ending was very fitting because they should have, and everyone really ached for them to die in a raging torrent of torture and pain, or maybe brutally killing each other, because Cersei in particular has really earned it. I know some people probably wanted what's his name to get off, but I think if you watch the show from season 1, you knew that they were both going to die together. There was no other choice for them to go, and story wise, they had to die together.
Let's cover a couple of character, like different characters, their specific character. So let's start with Jaime. Everyone's complaining about a redemption arc. Jaime pushed a little boy out of a window. In one of those very episodes, it was either number 4 or number 5. He straight up said like a few things that he did for Cersei. He strangled his own cousin to get back to her. He threatened, oh gosh, I forget which guy who had a castle, and he's like, look, I am here for Cersei. I'm here to take this castle, and I will give your son back to you. I'll put him in a catapult and launch him at the castle because I don't give a shit. I don't care about you. I don't care about your son. I don't care about your people. Nothing is important except Cersei. And that's what I have to do to get back to her. Then that's what I'm here to do. So it's not like he's a good guy who's been needing an opportunity to be good. He's like a neutral. He's so neutral. When good serves, then he does good, because everyone's complaining. They're like, well, he killed a king so that he could save all the innocents. Well, yeah, but
married to his sister.
Was the Mad King married to her?
She was supposed to be married to him, I believe.
Okay, so it's entirely possible that was more about his motivation. But then his sister, used wildfire on, a church full of innocent people.
Possibly miscalculation and accident. We don't know.
Oh, please.
He intended to blow up half the city.
We know she did, and Jaime knows. And he didn't do anything. He didn't kill Cersei. He didn't try to get her out of power. He didn't try to say, let's run off into the countryside because some of their kids were still alive at that point. No.
And actually, I would argue
one of their kids was still alive, but after it happened, that child jumped off the roof.
Oh, God, yeah. And I would actually argue that Jaime going to the north was just to protect Cersei.
Yeah, or maybe close. I don't know. I don't know.
I think there's more to it because I think there's a good to him. If Cersei did not exist in the world,
he might have just gone up there to see
a better character.
He might have just gone up there to see his brother.
No, I don't think so.
The point is that Jaime is not a good man.
No,
he is a self-serving man. He'll do niceties,
good or bad.
He'll do niceties for others if it doesn't put him out. But if he can do things for himself or for Cersei, he always prioritizes those things. This is not a good man. So like when Brienne,
and they just reinforced that when he left. Oh my goodness, I can't remember her actual name.
Brienne, I just said it.
Brianna, thank you.
Yeah, Brianna.
I don't ever listen to you.
And I desperately try to tune me out. I will be heard, Jeff. I said I will be heard.
Oh yes.
So okay, so we've established that Jaime is, a son of a bitch, and there's no redemption arc for him.
No.
Okay. Let's get to. Do we want to build towards Khaleesi, or do we want to just get to Khaleesi?
Well, I mean, I already spilled half the beans on what happened to Khaleesi, so.
Well, all right. So Khaleesi, everyone's like, "Oh, but she's the breaker of chains and the freer of slaves."
And
yeah,
she like crucified half of a city at one point.
Yes, and displayed their bodies all the way, outside the city for miles.
I would argue that the battle scene for King's Landing is very much in the flavor of what George R.R. Martin does. He takes history, which is horrific, and oftentimes, we talked about the Assyrians, in the past, having their flavor for just totally raising towns that would not surrender to them. Mongols raised civilizations that would not. It's a very recent phenomena where you try and minimize civilian casualties on the other side. That's a wholly new thing that has started to sprout up in humanity. A good one, I might argue, but I think that is a relatively new idea, and I don't know. It could just be limited. I don't know if everyone, maybe it's first world countries. I don't know what is causing it, because there are the people in the world now who are still committing genocides overtly through force. So I don't know why, but it's starting. You're starting to see it change. But it's just transitioning at this point on Earth. And for a long time, if you did not surrender, before the battle started, it's a little late. Once it started, it's done. If King's Landing had thrown Cersei out, it would have not been raised. And I do agree that I do think part of it was her. She was angry, I do think, because of what happened to her friend in the previous episode. But the thing was, for the soldiers to partake in this, Jon Snow is the modern anomaly pushed back into this period of time by the writing people. If anything, he is the only disingenuous character in there because he does not fit the time and place in which he lives. And it's okay, even as a character, it doesn't make him even a bad character. It's just he doesn't fit.
Yeah, he's one of these rare guys in this time period that doesn't want to see his enemies dead.
Mm-hmm. One of two I can think of.
Who's the other one?
Tyrion.
Oh, Tyrion. Yeah.
Yep.
So take a look at she has had moments of mercy. She decided not to kill the witches that the Khal had taken over his, that area, and then that woman, proceeded to work on the Khal, and that's what became the death of Khal Drogo. So she's been bitten by mercy before.
Mm-hmm.
And how many cities has she raised? How many people is she responsible for killing? How many men has she sent to her death? She's only concerned with getting power.
Yes.
Like, of course, she has had moments where we've believed that, okay.
And she does believe she won't be a tyrant.
Well, that's the thing. She doesn't see it, which makes her all the more so. She's like, I don't want to be the queen of the ashes. That's exactly what she's become.
But she just made herself that, yes. But I guess in a way, too, she talked about breaking the throne. That's one way to do it.
And why? Because her incestuous lover decided that he didn't want to be down with that.
Yes, exactly.
She spurned.
That was the one part I did not like in the episode. Was I thought it was very that scene was very petty, and they shouldn't have did that scene the way they did. But whatever, nothing's perfect.
Oh, that was the part that you had a problem with?
That was the only problem.
Okay, why was the fight between the Mountain and the Hound the best way to handle it?
Well, beyond the death, you have the eye stabbing, which was awesome. I believe Arya threatened to kill the Hound by stabbing him in the eye. He had just saved Arya, or potentially saved Arya, at least for the moment. And for him to use her tactic on the Mountain, I thought was awesome.
Well, also, we get to see that the Mountain is more powerful than the Night King. The Night King gets an itty-bitty stab in the belly and shatters like glass, whereas the Mountain takes a sword through the gut, a bunch of slashes, a knife straight through the skull, and it's just like, I'm sorry, were you trying to kill me?
And we have no idea that he's dead.
Well, that's what I was about to say. He could still be alive under that rubber.
I forget. I was reading somewhere. Someone was like, I could envision him, AKA like the Terminator, crawling through the city, body cut in half. And I could very much see that too. I prefer to think of him as dead because I loved the Hound character. And it was a very appropriate way for him to go.
I've been saying for years that I just want, give me one episode. I'd rather an entire season. But I'll take one episode where the Mountain is just carving swaths of death across the countryside. I want to see him slaughter everyone. I want to see him. We never got to see the Mountain in a war sequence. I wanted to see him in a battle where he's crushing like 6-7 guys at a time, and we never got to see that. The closest we came was in like season 2 or 3, where he's literally. No, I'm talking about like where he's like slaughtering like convicted prisoners in mass. They're just like lining him up, and he's just like swinging his sword through unarmored and unarmed men. And I'm just.
I was thinking you were going to go to the fight with the prince.
The snake in the mountain. No, because I'm like, what's that?
It was
all about?
Just a one-on-one fight there.
Well, that was a great fight. It was, I certainly loved that, but
that's where he was killed.
Well, I'm referring to the other thing though, where the closest we get, he's literally just swinging his sword through men that are less than half his size and unarmed. Like, why are you going to create something as intimidating, as terrifying, as imposing as the Mountain, and not give him a chance to flex those muscles? The closest we ever got was his fight with Overlord. That's the closest we ever got.
And that was truthfully before he became what he is.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, argue why it was totally awesome for him to abandon Cersei, even though he has been Cersei's, lapdog this entire time.
Yes. But I mean, it was him and his brother have the same sibling connection. It's just hate that Cersei and Jaime have, so it was like their hatred was stronger and brought them together at the end, where the love brought Jaime and Cersei back together in a very sweet and touching moment.
I'm having a hard time getting through this one.
Okay.
If you guys haven't picked up on it, every single point that we're arguing is the opposite of what we actually think.
Even though I would actually argue, though, that they have foreshadowed the Queen of Fire doing this pretty much since she started conquering stuff.
Well, and they also did foreshadow. Jaime straight up said that he wanted to die in the arms of a woman that he loved.
Yes,
which he did. So it's not like this stuff didn't have precedence. Yeah. But I definitely
you can't argue a bit on execution, maybe.
I mean, we can argue a great deal on execution.
Yeah, but we're not going to go there because this is the best episode ever.
This is the best episode ever. And I don't mean our episode. I mean Game of Thrones. This might also be.
This is also our best.
Might be.
We're talking about Game of Thrones. Okay.
So,
you got anything else on the best or worst here?
I mean, look, we've had all too much Jon Snow, so it's about time all we do is like get him walking around whining and not saying anything.
He's gonna flee up north. You'll have the kid who just got the keep take over as king.
I want to see Sansa travel through the country and pick up that guy who was a friend of Arya's who makes pies and like that neighboring.
Oh yeah, province. I forgot about him. Yeah.
Let's pick up him and have them just take over King's Landing. That Sansa can take over what the debris of what's left over, and she's like she'll have the north and all the way down to King's Landing, and then just that'll be that. Because everyone should die in this next episode.
Yeah, if Dany and Jon both don't die, I will be disappointed.
I'll be shocked. I said to my buddy the other day, I said, this is going to happen in one of three ways. Either one, they're going to satisfy us and give us some fan service and allow certain characters' conclusions to occur the way we really want to see them. Two, they're going to, stick their thumb in our eye and have it go opposite. Like Cersei kills Jon Snow and, the Mountain kills
the Hound.
Right, yeah. Have it go the total opposite way, like ways we don't expect, and thus we'll be talking about it for a long time, and we might enjoy it in some sick way.
Mm-hmm.
Or three, everything's going to peter out and be disappointing, and that's the one they've chosen.
That surely seems to be along the way. And so, like I said, if Dany or Jon survives, it is a flawed version of the way the show should have ended. They should both die. All of the major players should die. That's the only way to break the cycle.
I wish the Night King had gotten further. I don't like that he just got stopped in the north.
That's
although I will
episode.
Say, I know, but I will say that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about this season.
Yeah,
like his
the whole build up to that was awesome, and even like the whole night before was done really well. The nerves of soldiers before a fight that they shouldn't win. I thought that was all done really, really well. But that was the end of it being good. Once the battle started there, it just went to crap.
Okay. Let's get off the subject.
Yeah.
We have I'm gonna burn through these, and then
we're gonna skip half of them.
All right. So, but some of these are really good. I didn't read them.
We might actually get back, to some of them.
Yeah, we might. So it's got what is the worst trope in fiction?
Who cares?
Do video games help or hurt creatives?
We might do a whole episode on that at some point.
We could totally do a whole episode on that. Why Mike is a superior name. Why watching bad stories is better or more important than reading or watching good stories. I like that one. I think we might have to jump on that one. Mm-hmm. Should you create on vacation? And why people from Indiana are just better at everything. Jeff, do you know anyone from Indiana?
Throwing it at the end there.
Jeff, do you know anyone from Indiana?
Oh, you know what? I happen to be from Indiana.
Shocker. It's too bad this episode is about me instead of you. Otherwise, we wouldn't even talk about that. We'll have to skip that one.
Yeah, let's go to the story thing, and we'll spend the time, and we'll wrap up there. The other ones are interesting, maybe, and we'll get to them at some other point. But we spent a lot of time on Game of Thrones because it was such a good episode, and
this is totally not. This is like we're gonna have to do another episode that is more about like
300.
The 200. I gotta wait another 100 episodes.
No. Episode 300, we'll do another episode.
Oh, actually, that's true. We're not too far from 300. I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay. All right. I can do that. So, all right. Why reading or watching bad stories is more important than watching good ones?
Mm-hmm.
I can sum this up quickly, but I think we need to, really tear it apart. The quick version is simply, if only to recognize, because we can all, as we just did with the Game of Thrones bit, we can all point out what we don't like. Yeah. It's easy to see where things didn't work.
It's much easier than making something great. Yeah.
It's very easy to play armchair quarterback and look at a movie, a show, a book, a comic book, a video game, and go, ugh, they really should have zigged instead of zagged. They should have gone left instead.
They were stupid.
Yeah, they didn't do this right. Like if I did it, this is
so much better.
This is what I would have done. And we're going to get back to Game of Thrones, and we're going to talk about what should have happened. Well, all right. So before I go further, what do you think?
My thing is, here's the thing: is we're naturally drawn to good, and I'll be honest, finishing a bad book is really hard.
We're not drawn to good. Is that what you just said?
We are drawn to good naturally. So the thing is, it's like you finish the great books, the good books you finish. The bad books, the bad stories are hard to get through, but the problem is they have a lot more valuable lessons for you to look back and go, am I making these same mistakes? Am I making mistakes like these? What about it makes it bad? And not just because it made me feel bad at the end, but like substantively bad storytelling, or, if you're making movies, there's a lot more than just storytelling. Or is it writing? What specifically is making it bad? And as I'm creating, how can I actually avoid those mistakes? It's like, the truth is, everyone thinks that you learn from success. They think like Bill Gates is Bill Gates because he won. Bill Gates is Bill Gates because he lost enough that he got through at the right time on the right thing, which made him a buttload of money. He failed and he learned from his failures, which set him up to succeed when he needed to, when he had the right opportunity.
Let me go back for a second where you're talking about like watching bad stuff, reading bad stuff, and it's hard to get through a good or a bad book.
Yeah, it's much easier a movie. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But I'm going to point out, this is also, the other reason it's good is to train you. I'm not just saying like, oh, here's a bad thing, I'm going to stick it out and watch through a bad thing. I can think of two brilliant examples, and I cannot remember the name of the movie, and I wish I could. My wife and I were just talking about it the other day. One, there's a movie. We watched this thriller. I'm going to call it a thriller. It's not quite a horror. It's a thriller. Where, and I'm going to spoil the movie, but I don't know the name of the movie. And it is a very hard, like, as far as I'm aware, this is not a movie on a bunch of lists. So
go ahead and stop and watch all movies before listening to this part.
Yes, watch all of the movies. So here's the basic gist. It is like I think it was like a Vietnamese movie or whatever. It was an Asian movie.
It was definitely an Asian import.
It was an Asian import of an area that we don't often get movies from. It wasn't like a big China movie or a big Japanese movie.
But maybe it was like Korean or.
It was like Korean or yeah. And I struggled to watch this movie. Like we heard it was good. Like I think I found out about it on some list that I read some obscure list on the internet, and we watched it, and part of it seemed interesting, but they weren't explaining anything, and we watched it, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. The basic gist is this guy wakes up in the woods. He has no idea where he is, how he got there, what's going on. He wakes up.
And they conveyed that very well to the people watching because they had no idea what was going on either.
He wakes up in the woods buried alive. Mm-hmm. And then he runs into other people who are also terrified and don't know what the hell is going on. And it's not until like the last 10 minutes of the movie, I shit you not, we watched the whole movie until the reveal doesn't happen. At that point, I was like, this movie is garbage. Like, I'm just watching it to see how it ends at this point. Like, I could have shut this off for literally 40 minutes prior and been like, okay, fine, I don't need to watch the rest of this because it's terrible. Because a lot of it was delivered really, really slowly. Like the pacing was very slow until the last 10 minutes. And in the last 10 minutes, this is what you find out. You find out this guy is a psychopath. He buried himself alive. He took drugs to make him not remember who he is, how he got there, what's going on. And he kidnapped people before he did it. He kidnaps 2-3 people. He goes into a home. He home invades. He kills 1 or 2 people. He takes 1 or 2 of the other people, drives them out into the woods, drugs himself, buries himself alive, and says, winner take all. So partway through, he's running into those people. They're terrified of him. He doesn't know why. Well, that's because he brutally slaughtered members of his family.
And they actually remember him. He doesn't remember them.
Exactly. And they tried to kill him. Then he's like, oh my God, why are you trying to kill me? What's going on? He has no idea. But after a day being out there in the woods, lost and confused, tired and, attacked, and he's trying to help these people. He's like, let's work together. We'll find out what's going on. And they're like, get the hell away from me. Who are you? And you have no idea. It's just, you don't get the motivations of anyone until you discover this is what's occurring. And at the end of that movie, I'm like, this movie is brilliant. This is one of the best things I've ever seen.
It was horrible to go through, but
it was horrible until that last bit. I have turned off many other movies sooner. I have not stuck it out. I don't know why I stuck it out that night, but I did.
That was like me with the book Atlas Shrugged. I kept hearing how important. Go ahead. How important it was and how good it was, and I started to read it. It's it's like 7,000 pages long or some crap like that.
Mm-hmm. So you did read that.
It's like size 2 font as well. And so you're going through the book, and I'd say the first third of it was horrible. It was all building pieces together to do. It's like essentially putting stuff together. So the last, 2/3 of the book makes sense, but 1/3 in a 7,000 page book is really long. And especially when it's size 2 font, and you go through and it's so slow, and I just kept and I still to this day I don't love it. And everyone's oh, this is so brilliant. If you're a libertarian, I don't get it. It was preachy. It had like really good insights in there, but surrounded by an extra 6,500 words. It just did not work for me.
The book that comes to mind for me, and some of you, if you've read this book, you're gonna lambaste me, but I'm gonna take it. The original title of the book is Mind Killer. I know it as Spider Robinson's Mind Killer. The title of the book changed at some point. I don't remember what the new title is. It's been reprinted, so it's actually very difficult to find it under the title Mind Killer. And I know it's something I could easily look up right this second, but I'm not going to do it. There is a good chunk in that book that took me a long time to get through. I spent probably, a couple of weeks, forcing myself upon recommendation on one of our favorite published authors, Dawn Metcalf. I borrowed her copy from her, and she's like, you have to read this book. It's fantastic. If you're, a science fiction fan, you'll absolutely love it. Read this book, read this book. And I'm like, okay. And I got to a point in the book and I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. I've literally there probably 30 to 50 pages in, there's like a 50 to 75 page section that is boring as hell. Mm-hmm. And I was like, when does this get good? And when you finally get to the hook, it is so worth it. It's one of the best books.
It becomes good sometimes. But for me, I couldn't get over the punishment of the boring part at the beginning.
Mm. Oh, so you have tried to read this book?
No, then not that book. I've not read that book. I'm saying, because this is exactly the same as Atlas Shrugged. It was so boring and horrific at the beginning. And it wasn't poorly written or anything like that. It was just boring as hell. And for me, I've never been able to forgive it, but apparently you have, because you appreciate the art more. Well, sometimes art is that way, right? Where it has to be made in a certain way for it to, as a whole, make sense. Like the movie that you're talking about, the ending makes the whole thing brilliant.
Here's the thing,
problem is you have to be punished to get there.
Well, but I believe that you don't need to be, because there are viewing experiences that have the same dramatic impact that movie had without being so dull in the middle.
I see dead people.
Sure.
I mean, that was the same essential idea.
I mean, and that's something that M. Night Shyamalan has done like 5, 6, 7 times, where he's been like, oh, wait, here's a reveal at the end. With multiple movies, he's done that with The Village, with the, what do you call it? The Alien movie, Signs. So you got The Village, you got Signs, you got The Sixth Sense, they all have late game reveals that change the scenario. That's kind of like his jam. But there's a way, like so this Asian movie that I'm talking about. God, I wish I could remember the name of that movie. It could have achieved the same thing without having sections that were so dull. Now, I attribute that to budget and writing. I think that the delivery was brilliant.
Or could it be translation too?
Maybe. I think it was a style thing mostly. Okay. I think it was a style thing. Like literally, there's probably 30 minutes of the movie of him just wandering around the woods in the dark. So it's not like you get these amazing shots where you can see lots of stuff in the woods. You can't. You can see him and foliage, and you don't know what the hell's going on.
It's overpressing the point.
It's very much so. So I attribute that to budget because it is a very inexpensively shot movie. And I may have talked. Have I talked about writing to shoot? Have I talked about that before? I feel like I have.
Probably. It's been 200 episodes.
So if here's a little thing for you. If you plan on writing scripts, it's real easy to be like, oh, well, let's make this big grandiose thing with all these special effects. But if you're an untested screenwriter, nobody's going to throw $200 million worth of CG money to have them build your, alien epic. You want to write a script that is written to shoot. And what I mean by that is few locations, few special effects, few actors. If you can write something compelling like that, you'll get it shot easily. And that's one of the reasons that so many low budget horror movies get made, because they can be shot and they can be delivered inexpensively. There's truckloads of
them. The risk to reward is in the favor of the producers.
There are very clever science fiction movies that are extremely inexpensively made. Look at the movie Primer. It's one of the best time travel movies ever made, and it was a very inexpensive movie to make. And if you watch the movie, you can see that. Like there's almost no special effects. Everything is within the bounds of modern time. So it's not like they had to create a super futuristic thing, but the concepts behind it and the conversations that drive the story are very well executed. And also there are very few actors, there are very few locations, and nothing in it is very expensive. So
that's why you always have episodes trapped on a spaceship with one or two people in every science fiction. Save money for your bigger episodes too.
Yep. And also those are good character development.
Of course. They have other uses, don't get me wrong. It's like one of my favorite movies ever was 12 Angry Men, which was just 12 angry dudes in one room.
I've heard nothing but good things. That is one of those movies I've never watched. And it's on my list. It's like it's a must-view movie because I've heard from multiple people it's one of the greatest movies ever made, and I've never watched 12 Angry Men.
And it's something that they could not make anymore because it could have been a stage presentation.
I think they have done it on stage.
And it easily could if it did not originate there. I don't know, but essentially it is brilliant. But it's all character, and it's not boring. And see, the thing is, character doesn't mean boring, but it could be made that way. Okay.
See Game of Thrones.
All right. So, all right. Do you have any other things for bad stories are more important than good stories?
Well, I think we covered the main point is like watching bad stuff. It allows you to armchair quarterback, and subsequently you can see the mistakes of others and learn from those to make your own fiction better.
Exactly. And we gave you some examples of things if you can find them, because we didn't use names half the time because we can't remember because we have the attention span of gnats.
What?
Yeah. No. So what episodes is episode 78? Okay.
Should you create on vacation?
No. What other stuff later? We're running out of time here. So
come on. How far along are we? Let me see. I don't have a. Where's my?
We're almost at an hour.
Are we really? Oh wow! Look at that.
So we will pick up. We'll do some of these. I think could become topics of their own, or stuff that will get pushed into something else at some other point. We have to get back to why Mike is a superior name, But
I don't think we need to.
We'll do episode 300.
If you guys want to check us out at the closed Facebook group, the Fantasy World Builders Undercroft.
Facebook.com/groups/Undercroft.
Thank you, Jeff.
For the 200th time.
I know. For the 200th time. I don't think we had it when I first started.
I don't think so, but
like 150 might be fair. So yeah, come check us out. Tell us what you want to see in a debate episode, because I really like the idea of us doing a debate episode. Like I said, my original intention was for us to pick a couple of things like characters, storylines, movies, or books that we liked or disliked, and then debate one side of the subject versus the other against each other, and I wanted to time it. Like I wanted to do the whole shebang. So tell us if you guys got a debate subject that you would love to hear us talk about. Then hit us up on the close Facebook group. Tell us what you want to hear, and we'll give it a shot.
Awesome. For Jeff and Mike, we'll see you next time.
No, I'm not leaving this episode yet, Jeff. This is my 200th episode, and I demand that you thank me for joining you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'll just cut that out later.
Thank you so much for listening to the World Builders Anvil.
We would love it if you would share the World Builders Anvil with 2 of your friends.
And so would they.
If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting.
Take them to Stitcher or iTunes, or best of all, just send them to our website, www.gardul.com.
That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.